of Everyday Bubbly with Allegra and Taylor. We've got a super special episode today, as you guys can probably see, unless you're on Spotify, in which case you're not seeing anything. We have a guest today, our friend Alex, and we are so excited to dive in. I just remembered, Alex, I don't even think I know your last name. I know that I do, but I don't remember.
Casolaro.
Oh yeah, Casolaro. Casolaro. Got Alex Casolaro here. And we're so excited to just talk about doing things that scare you, even though they scare you, like doing it anyways, and just kind of diving into the abyss, which I think is a great 2024 message that we're super excited to like share with y'all.
And that's one of my mantras, is like, do shit that scares you.
Oh yeah, you made an Instagram
day.
post about
Every
that the
day.
other day.
Whether
What's the thing that scares you for today?
Packing for my trip.
That's fair. I packed yesterday.
I have Sunday
Laundry.
scaries.
Yeah, I feel like January is like one long Sunday scary sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a weird month.
I feel like this coming week too is like the real week back. Like last
It's a
week
lot
was
of
kind
good,
of fake.
ton of
People were still
vacation.
out, and I'm like, this is gonna be
This
back
is
to
it.
reality, and I'm not quite ready.
Yeah. So this is what we've got going on today. Allegra, what are we drinking this week?
So we picked up this lovely bottle from our local Central Market. It is a brand called Keep Wines, and it's a 2020 Counoise.
I've never heard of this before.
Counoise from California. I don't know what that means. We're
It's a
gonna
red?
do a little research on it. It's a chillable red, and it's a natural wine.
I'll
David Gerard Vineyard.
Pretty color.
It's very pretty.
It's fruity. It's got a bit of like a tang to it.
Yeah, this, I literally just Googled it, and it says that it is vibrant and spicy with flavors of anise, strawberries, and blueberries.
What
So-
kind of grape is it?
Counoise is the type of grape.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's an obscure late ripening red variety, thought to be native to the Rhone Valley.
Yeah, so we are trying.
Wine education.
Yeah, new year, new
Learning new
wines.
things.
So pretty
good.
I like it.
And we picked it because of the graphic design. So good job, Keep Wines.
I will just say,
Great
wine
font treatment.
winemakers need to, and I think people have been doing this a lot more, by spending time on the labels, you're making more money.
Oh,
like
100%.
I'm gonna buy something based off of
I
how
think
cute the
a
label
lot
is.
of people make their decision based on the label.
Yeah, so if you're a
Myself
winemaker,
included.
let us know. We'll give you recommendations for wine labels any day.
Yeah. I like it though.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. It's like fruitier than I expected it to be, but in a good way.
And Alex, you are not drinking. You are participating in
I'm attempting
dry January.
Attempting dry January. First time I've ever attempted it. I was just saying to you too, I feel like in January I've always had some sort of trip or occasion or event, and I've been like, I know I'm going to make an exception, so like why even bother and setting myself up to fail. But this month I was like, you know what, I have nothing on the calendar. I'm going to really try it. And
How's
I
it going
to just
so
feel
far?
fresh and good, and
We're a week
7
in.
days in.
7 days
I
in.
stayed strong. I said to you though, my boyfriend and I didn't know what to do with ourselves all weekend because we were like, everything we do revolves around going out and drinking.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the reality of things. So
That really is.
we've stayed in and cooked and worked out and done all the good things.
All the
So we'll see
healthy
how
stuff.
long it lasts.
I mean, you're 25% of the way
yeah,
done
that's a great way
already.
to look at it.
So, like, you're practically
So-
You
half
could do
and
that 3
halfway.
more times.
Yeah, and I feel like we know what it feels like now. Like we
Yeah.
got through a weekend and like, so we'll see. But yeah, I picked up this. What did we say it was?
I think it's Gaia.
Non-alcoholic aperitif. It's their ginger version
It's
of
very
it.
pretty.
It's very pretty. It looks like a pretty cocktail.
I feel like it should be like raspberry flavored.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
color
it's
does look
very.
raspberry.
Yeah, I did not expect this color from
No.
a ginger drink, but it's really tasty, and we put it in a pretty glass with a big ice cube.
I will say I've done dry January a few times, or I've gone through like phases where I wasn't drinking, and the glass makes all the
It
difference.
makes a difference,
You can drink
yeah.
lemonade. Like we did for your birthday last year, we went to like a really nice French restaurant, and I got lemonade in a fancy glass,
Yeah.
and I felt
You just
I feel
amazing.
like it's like
Kinda like
that
your-
like placebo kind of just
Yeah.
effect of just like feeling like you have a drink, but
And that's the beauty too, when if you do go out and you feel like you're gonna get pressure from people,
Yeah.
if you're drinking it out of a nice glass, who's even gonna ask
gonna
you?
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now if you're holding a can of water or something, then it's
That's different, yeah.
Yeah.
And then should I show this?
Yeah,
In case we
absolutely.
drink it? So then I also picked up, again, purely based off of label, but a Wolfer Estate, which is actually from out in the Hamptons in Long Island in New York. And this happens to be their non-alcoholic sparkling rosé. So I wanted to bring something bubbly for the podcast.
I love that.
You know what that reminds?
Forcing you guys to try a non-alcoholic.
No, I'm always a fan of non-alcoholic
We'll see how
things.
it is.
You know what that reminds me of was my birthday last year.
Oh,
when
yeah.
we got a bunch of champagne and we were drinking it at the spa.
Yeah.
And I was doing dry January, and I brought 2 bottles of like non-alcoholic sparkles, so I could like be a part. And I like came back from one of the treatments, and the bottle was just gone. And I was like, okay, I had like a glass and a half, but like okay, like maybe it just got cleaned up in the med, like whatever.
Yeah.
We were like end of the day, I think, end of our time there.
Guzzling this bottle that was in this little like cute mum Napa case that my friend had gotten me.
Like a little insulated
case. And we were like finishing that. We go to remove it, and it was
non-alcohol.
And everybody was like,
wait,
what? And I was like, oh, well, there it is. One of your friends who's diabetic was like, well, that explains my blood sugar spike.
Oh
she,
my
like,
god.
It like was so, really had no idea.
But isn't that funny?
It was
how like
so
you don't
funny.
even like
it was my mom.
can't even tell.
You know, she was trying to clean up, and I think she like put it.
Oh,
I don't think she realized it was
bottles.
non-alcoholic.
Yeah, so you didn't drink any of that, and
Nope.
we all drank it thinking it was champagne.
it was real booze.
But I
And
think
you're
like that.
Why am I not buzzed yet?
That's a testament to like the taste. Like nobody was fazed by the fact that it tasted.
Granted, I
I
was
was their bottle like
drinking
it all
mine
looks the same. Like,
Yeah.
I was
there's no
drinking
real
mine
differentiator.
with orange juice, so I think that's why.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't have noticed that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you were literally drinking juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I was like, why don't I feel
Just, like,
anything?
Two juices mixed together.
No,
basically.
but I'm excited to try that
I'm excited to try this
Yeah,
one.
looks good.
because I feel like that's my biggest thing with when you do dry January. Sometimes you just want like the motion, which I think is it's a great point that you said of drinking still even water out of nice glassware gives you that like illusion.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love like I haven't really found a good like non-alcoholic wine.
I'm excited to try this one.
So
Yeah, looks good.
well, cheers.
Cheers, y'all.
We're gonna do a cheers and then we're gonna share our cheers.
Yeah.
Thank
Alex,
you for
well,
having me.
Of course, we're so happy to have
excited.
you.
So honored.
As you know, we do a cheers of the week every week, just celebrating some of the little moments that happen. So, Alex, we'll let you go first as our
Oh my
guest.
goodness.
What's
Okay.
your cheers of the week?
I mean, kind of already mentioned it, but I do feel like I'm gonna cheers myself for just making it through the first week of January
Yes.
not drinking. I feel like it's
That's a solid one.
it's hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm gonna just be super proud on the other side of things, just to again have challenged myself and done something that I haven't normally done before. So definitely cheersing to that. I think cheersing to just making it through the first week of work back as kind of fake as it was, and everyone wasn't totally back and bosses were still out on vacation. It was still a feat to just get back into the swing of things. So I'm cheersing to just
To
making
take
it
the out
through.
of office off and like to be
just
responding.
like tackle the inbox and just get literally back in the mindset. I think that
Yeah.
was just hard for me and took a few days. So
I think I'm still, maybe because I knew that Allie and I have a trip next week.
Yeah.
I felt I was still in vacation mindset, even though those 4 days of work, I was like, I know I'm not going to be here. This is like 2 weeks away
that
is the
was
real
like-
start to the week.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
for sure.
I'm like in between the two of y'all because I also knew this week I'll be out, which means that I was really trying to get ahead of things
Yeah.
this past week, especially taking advantage of the fact that it was very quiet.
Yeah.
Like there was like nobody at the office. It's like crickets, and even like emailing external clients is like still some
People are
slow
still-
response
yeah.
times. But
Yeah. I feel like it takes a few weeks in January for everyone to get back, and then it hits you like a truck, and then
Yeah.
it's just back.
what's your cheers?
Let me look at I like had written 2 down and I forgot. Okay, wait, I had 2. One, they're like not small cheers. They're not like quite everyday bubbly. They're maybe like an every week, every month bubbly. I don't know.
Every quarter,
Every
bubbly?
quarterly bubbly cheers. I'm excited to do Disney with you next
gonna
week.
be fun.
That was like not my cheers intentionally because I'm like that's a big cheers.
That's big cheers. But I feel like I'm really excited for it. I mean, we get to celebrate big things the same way we get to celebrate small things. Like I think everything gets to be celebrated. And this will be my first time going with friends. I have gone traditionally with family, or like I think I've mentioned before, like I have dated into a Disney adult family. Like, I was always very judgmental of Disney adults, and this will be my 3rd time going in 5 years, which is
that's
absurd.
crazy.
And actually maybe 4, if you count when I went to Disneyland Paris like 2 years ago.
What about
like,
the resort in Hawaii?
We're just adding them up. Oh my God, Alex, stop outing me as a Disney adult.
How many pairs of ears do you have?
I have 4.
Yeah.
But that's over like a long time. Like, I didn't buy all of those in the past 5 years. Like, some of them are like 10 years.
Well, I have 0, so.
Well, we're gonna change that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to do a friend time in Disney and get to like see all of your reactions to things, because even the first time I went, I was like, this is Allie's kind of place more than it's my kind of place. Like,
I mean, the Star Wars land 100%.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I
have
enough Star Wars shirts to wear one every day that we're there, but I'm intentionally not because I want to represent the other parks. But I have freaking Star Wars tattoos. Like, I'm just gonna lose my shit.
You are. So, like, I'm excited to go and, like, see your reaction, honestly, more than I'm excited to go for myself. I don't think I'd be as excited if it was just Nick and I. So that's my cheers, is, like, bringing you along. And then my second cheers is I got a new job title on Friday. Yeah, I was super excited. The end of last year was just kind of, like, all over the place in terms of work. There was just a lot of, like, transitions and changes. So my CEO sat down and like worked out a new title for me, and I'm really excited to like have clarity in my role going forward, which is something as a Virgo is very important to me to like know what I'm trying to do.
So what's the new title? Do you want to share it?
I'm still trying to negotiate some of the verbiage, but I'm thinking head of customer research, like basically research, which is very much up my alley. I love asking questions. That's why we have a podcast. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. Thank you.
That's a great way to kick off the new year.
That's like that is definitely a quarterly, yearly.
Yeah. That's like an annual bubbly cheers, not an everyday bubbly.
Well, now mine is gonna seem very lackluster.
No, it's still good cheers. No cheers is better than the other one.
Well, we may have to come back and see how this cheers lives, but over the holidays, I wore my faux fur Abercrombie puffer out to Miracle on Fifth Street and got a cocktail spilled all over it.
Oh my God.
Went to take it to the dry cleaner. They rejected it because they're like, it says on the label you can't dry clean or wash it. They're like, it says spot clean only. I'm like, but look at this.
There's a big spot.
It was literally not even a spot, all over. Like, it's like it came and hit the front,
like a stranger,
hit the back. Like... No, it was me.
It's okay. I was about to like fight somebody.
I was like this.
No, but it was like
human spilled all over you.
And that's even the more baffling part is how I got it on so much of the jacket.
What?
It was like all over one sleeve, the front and the back of one side.
Did you have a seizure? Like what
happened? It was in a glass like maybe smaller than this, so I don't even understand.
That's so
but it was a very sugary, cranberry based cocktail.
Oh gosh!
So after having it just sitting in this room on a hanger for a month, I finally gave it a bath today. And I say that because I filled the bathtub up. I put detergent in it.
Oh wow!
I washed it in the tub, and
did it work?
That fucker was so heavy.
Oh, imagine.
And I was here by myself, and I'm like, this is a 2-person job. Somebody needs to hold it while I squeeze all the water out of it. I definitely, like, my forearms are sore from, like
what a workout.
Heating this thing up and, like, trying to squeeze the water out of it. So it's laying draped over a chair outside in the sun. And then I'm going to try and brush it out. And we're just going to see what happens. But
I'm cheersing to that being a success.
I'm hoping it is.
And I'm impressed.
But if it's not, like... Here's the thing, I wasn't going to wear it again, like, with it stained like that, so if I ruined it, well, I wasn't going to wear it anyway, so...
Yeah.
At least this is giving it a shot of being able to be wearable again.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm feeling pretty good. I've been able to, like, wash, like, my cowhides and other, like, faux fur stuff, so Abercrombie's label says you can't wash it.
I feel like we're good
countering
at
it.
that stuff, though.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
just
like-
all about like how you treat it and not like throwing it. You can't
Don't put it in the
throw it in the
washer.
washing machine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to hand wash it like that, so we'll see. I'll provide an update, and if not, I'm at least proud that like sometimes when things are like that, I just prolong doing them because I'm like, it's just, it's out of the way, but it was just like.
Was this your one thing that scared you today? Was washing that jacket?
I was like,
Yeah,
dunked
that's
it in there. I'm
quite
like,
the
oh
feat.
god, what if this is forever ruined? And then I'm like, well,
It is what
At
it
least
is.
you attempted a fix.
yeah.
Yeah. Cheers to
see
that.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Thanks.
I probably would have given up much more easily than you.
Oh, same. I would have just complained about it for months on
and then
end.
just like bought a new one eventually. Whatever.
Well, when I was at the store yesterday, I was like looking at their jackets. I'm like, is there a replacement? I didn't see one. And I'm like, and the reason too for just diving in and trying it was I wanted to wear it twice this week. There was like 2 outfits
that's
I
the
had, and I was
worst.
like, I
Yeah.
can't wear it because it's all messed up. So
Yeah, that's not
time
a
to
fun feeling.
time to see if it's fixable, and if it's not, time to buy a new one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Treat
Those are
yourself.
good cheers. Well, should we dive into like what we wanted to spend some time talking about and
Yeah.
chatting with Alex? So I guess maybe it would be best for the listeners if we gave a little bit of background as to why we're coming to you with this question. Allie, do you
Well,
wanna-
I want Alex to share how we met.
Okay.
Because I love hearing it from your point of view, and then I can chime in with my
It's
point
a
of
good
view.
story. Okay. Yeah, so I'll go back a bit. And how I got to Austin and how I met both of you. So I'm originally from New York. I grew up in upstate New York, and then I lived in New York City for almost a decade. And then that little thing, COVID, happened.
Heard of
and
it.
I was living in Manhattan and by myself and scared and uneasy and like everyone. Didn't know what to do other than go home to my parents. So I went home to my parents in upstate New York, and fast forward about 18 months. I lived at home in my parents, in my childhood bedroom, was lucky enough to keep my job doing events for Viacom, which is now Paramount. So was kind of doing what everyone was doing, working from home and just kind of like trying to navigate this crazy new world in life. And I'd say within that, year and a half, I really was starting to itch for kind of a change and realizing that I didn't necessarily think I wanted to go back to New York City, which was like this crazy big realization for me that I never thought would happen.
Yeah.
I thought like,
Do you think
New
just
York
having
City, like where else
The
would
city
I be?
is
and
home,
where else
yeah.
was
would
it
I
just
wanna
having
go?
that space at your parent? Do you think you would have come to that same realization if you'd been
No, I say I'm like, if not for COVID, I probably would have never left New York. I think that whole experience just totally opened my eyes and allowed me to realize that like there was so much more out there and that it was okay to not just like go back to something that I was comfortable in. But if COVID hadn't happened, I didn't get like pushed or forced out to go on this kind of new journey and live at home for a few months and save money and do all of this, like I would have just did kind of what all my friends did, which was like ride it out.
Yeah.
And stay in New York in their studio apartments and like figure out, when it was going to end and if they were going to do anything differently, and a lot of them didn't. So I spent almost a year and a half at home. I think before COVID, honestly, too, I didn't realize in the moment, but I do think I was kind of starting to get the itch to like change something.
Yeah.
Like I had been at Viacom for, at that point, like 6 years. Like I was an intern in college.
How old were you?
27.
So that was like all of your professional career essentially.
Yeah,
had
like
been
I literally
Viacom.
grew up there professionally and like had obviously the most incredible experience professionally and personally and made great relationships and did awesome stuff. But it was, 6 going on 7 years. I think for anyone, you're kind of, even if it's great and you're like on a great trajectory, like for someone like me who just kind of always is sort of itching for something new every few years or every few months, I was like, okay, so that was already sort of kind of happening. And I think too, I had been lucky enough to have experiences like going abroad during college and spending a semester in Italy and like going on trips with family and friends and like just always kind of had that like
Adventure
wanderlust adventure side.
Yeah.
And just like knew and know that there's just so much out there. Like the world is like
so
big, and there's so many cities even in the US that like are amazing and have so much opportunity. So always kind of keeping that in the back of my mind, but then realizing that I had an opportunity after saving some money and, you know, just feeling secure in having support from family and whoever to like make that jump and, you know, take that risk and start over. So how I got to Austin, I mean, during this kind of year and a half at home, and I was also just like trying to figure out like who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do next, like started making a list. I feel like probably like anyone does, of like, where could I see myself living, and like where are there like job opportunities like in events and marketing or like companies that I've been interested in working at. So started making that list, and it was kind of all over the place, and it was like LA or San Francisco, and then it was like London, and then it was like Miami, and then it was like
just kind of all over
Austin,
the board.
like yeah, and all for like maybe a couple of reasons for each. And places I had been before. Austin I had only been at that point to once before. And I came for the Formula One like weekend and race with my cousin and a few friends in 2019, and spent just like a weekend here. Obviously the city was like bustling and there was so much going on and there was so much fun. So I had a blast, and I was like, wow, Austin's
and it's like
fucking awesome. Yeah, it was like
November.
it was like perfect weather, just like the most fun experience. And then like walked around town and went to South Congress and just got like, I feel like that like true kind of quintessential like Austin weekend. And I was like, I had no idea how cool this place was. Like I could really see myself living here. Like I remember saying that to like Liam or whoever I was with, and I was like, okay. So that kind of always stuck. And then of course like job was like okay, that's an important factor. Like if I'm gonna move somewhere, I either need the job ahead of moving there or like know that I'm gonna get a job there, like because that was almost a little too much risk. Like I wasn't willing to go that far and not go somewhere without a job. So I'd say the biggest kind of decision I made along the way was to actually resign from Viacom in the moment where I did not actually have a job yet.
Oh, that's so brave.
That was like a hugely very out of Alex ordinary, like I am planner to a T, type A, like always like future planning, looking forward, like ready to have, you know, a plan in place. And I knew though that I was so ready to do that, and that showed that I was really ready to like make these big changes. Like I knew in myself.
Did you also, because you mentioned earlier, like you felt you like stayed at home, had a bunch of time to like save, and you like had that support system. Do you think that also like helped you make that decision?
Yes.
To, like,
I mean, the most incredibly supportive parents, and like, you know, money. Like I was living in New York City, and at that point alone paying gobs of money for rent in like a Hell's Kitchen, like walk up, like, you know, you're spending the money that you're making in New York, like you're not saving. So to then have that kind of financial cushion a little bit, just because I was living at home, and my parents' support, I think the year I was working for Viacom remotely too was just super tumultuous, like because of COVID. Everyone that I grew up with at Nickelodeon and these brands that I worked for, and like people who had families and kids, like the whole company was getting laid off, like and it was just incredibly emotional. I'm sure we all experienced that in some way, and you feel, and I felt in that moment, a lot of guilt. I kept my job the whole time, but I was on an events team and we weren't producing events, and it like kind of didn't make sense. So there was just a lot of like internal like shame and guilt, and I was just like why me? Like it was just a lot. And then of course in true like fashion, what then happens is like I looked up one day and I was doing a job that like I didn't even like know how to do, because they were just dumping all this random work and stuff
on the people
that were left, right? So it was like I felt like at one point they were asking me to like code, and I was like, I'm like an events planner, like what is happening?
No,
like
this is not in my job description.
And I also have not gone to school for this.
Yeah, like, that is a career.
I looked
by
up
itself.
and I was working like 17 hours a day, like from home,
Oh my God.
like in my
That sounds
childhood
awful.
bedroom, like just like trying to help, because that's in my nature too. Like I was like, this is like survival mode too. Like there's stuff to be done. Like there's clients to, you know, appease, and you know the business still needs to stay afloat.
Yeah.
And it was just, I remember just feeling overwhelmed and a lot of pressure and just kind of lost. So that all was happening too in the workspace, and that's I think what ultimately led me to being like, this is just like no longer for me. Like what an incredible run I had, what an incredible experience, but getting to that realization and then ultimately deciding to resign, even though I didn't have anything lined up, was like the first, I think, big step.
Scary step.
Yeah, that's a scary thing to do. Especially like we said, that's been your job, your entire professional career.
It was all I knew.
You're like, what the F am I going to do next?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
But then, when one door closes, another door opens.
Literally. No, and exactly that happened. I mean, it was June when I left Viacom, and I remember for once in my life being like, okay, let me like chill out for a few weeks. Like, what a concept. Like, let me just like not be like a psychopath for a few weeks.
Can't relate, honestly.
I also think
like,
about like living at home.
chill.
If I was living at home and I tried to do that, my mom would be like, when are you going to get a job? When are you going to get a job?
Yeah, I was...
You're lucky.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, let me take a few weeks. Just like, it's the middle of the summer. I live at Lake George. Like, I'm very blessed. Let me just like lean into this.
I've seen the photos.
For
it's
a few
beautiful.
weeks and just enjoy this. And all my family was around too. I had to remember, like, that was a big thing too. Was like, I went home to my parents, but like my brother lives in upstate New York. Like my grandparents, like my uncle and my cousins and stuff. So like in that moment, it was also really important for me to realize like, okay, there's never a moment, even though we're under these like crazy stressful circumstances of like a pandemic, like there's never going to be a moment where we're all just like sitting still and together, like in the same place. Like,
which I think is one of the biggest takeaways for me, not to interrupt, but like for COVID is like, I think it really redefined how people look at things, because we got that space and that like that solitude with your important people to just like exist.
It was a really hard time and hard year, 2 years, but I feel like it did bring a lot of like, this is the important stuff. Family, friendship, work was like health. Yes.
And things that we had control over, honestly. I feel like we like tangenting a little bit, but I feel like we've gotten so wrapped up in things that we don't have control over that that was like a reset button for all of us.
Yeah. So realizing that too, I was also like, let me spend a few weeks hanging with my family and like just being present and like taking advantage of this. Like grandparents are old, like we're all lucky to be healthy. All of that. So
and at that point, I'm just trying to remember like the timing of it. Like this was coming more out of the pandemic, right?
Yeah, this was like summer of 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a solid year.
It wasn't
and a half,
it wasn't in the heart
lockdown.
Of it.
So took a few weeks off in the summer and just kind of, told a few people here and there from like my network in New York, and started to kind of like put in friends' ears, like, I'm thinking of moving somewhere. I don't know where yet. And then I think it may have been like 2, maybe 3 weeks later, a now former colleague at Viacom, like, called me. And he was someone I was close with, worked closely with, and someone who, when I left, I said, like, here's kind of what I'm thinking of. I have, like, Austin at the top of my list of cities I'm interested in potentially moving to. Let me know if you hear of anything. And he called me and was like, hey, I know, like, it's been 2 weeks. I know you're trying to chill, but, like, there's a woman and a company and an opportunity I feel like is too good to just, like, not put on your radar, and, like, you can do with it what you want.
Yeah.
And that happened to be Bobby Jacobs at Forefront, where Allegra and I work together, based in Austin. So in that moment, it kind of just felt a little bit too good to be true.
Yeah. Ready to like explore this.
And I was like, okay. So long story short-ish, I got connected with Bobby, and she, did what she does, which now I know very well, working with her for 2 years, just how she operates. But she schmoozed me, and she called me, and she was just this vibrant, enthusiastic, energetic, woman entrepreneur who started these really fabulous like food, music, and wine festivals that Allegra and I work on now in Napa and Colorado. And she was like, I've just partnered up with these guys. They're based in Austin. Here's what they do. Look at the website. I saw your resume. Adam from Viacom, you know, we've worked together. He says great things about you. Like, I know it was like July 4th weekend or something. She's like, I know it's a long weekend, or like I had like a family reunion. I don't know. Something was happening, but she was like so incessant. Now I know. I'm like, that's just Bobby. Like she just, she wants something, she's gonna get it in that moment.
Yeah.
But she was like, take the weekend and like, you know, think about it and call me on Monday. And I feel like that next week I had a call with her. I had a call with Terry, who runs the marketing team, who now is my boss. And the next week, I think I was on a plane to Denver to meet Bobby in person for a lunch, and then the two partners in the company, Jay and John.
That's so fast.
For dinner. And I spent like 24 hours in Denver. And in that moment, it all felt just super right. And in moments like that, I'm a true believer in like following your gut and your intuition.
Yeah.
And it all felt really right in my gut. And I was like, these seem like really good people. I'm super jazzed to be kind of like poached by this like really cool woman entrepreneur, founder, leader. And it's based in Austin. And that was kind of like, okay.
Like all
yeah,
the boxes
literally.
being
The like universe isn't kind of like telling me that this is sort of what's meant to be, then.
That's amazing. So this is something I struggle with, so I'm curious like how you did, because you were saying that you followed your gut. How do you clear the noise from your head? I feel like sometimes I'm like, this is what I want to do, but this is what I think I should do instead. And I feel like I battle back and forth between those two sides of myself endlessly.
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. I mean, I did in this moment a lot of like the classic, like I like wrote a lot of shit down. Like I made like pros cons lists. Like I was like trying to
like,
kind of like
what's
put on
worst
paper
case, best case
that
scenario
battle in my head that I knew I would be asking myself all those different questions and like, well, what if this? What if that? Like, I think for me though, it is just going through that exercise and that battle a lot in your head, but then ultimately like taking that time to pause and reflect and be like, but like, what do I want? Feels right.
Yeah.
And whatever that first thought is, I kind of am like, that's what I'm going with.
I love that.
And I think my mom has been like really crucial for me in kind of teaching me how to do that exercise, but like on my own, but like she will also question me in ways that like I might not question myself. So I feel like it's really important to have people around you too who will like ask the hard questions and be like, well, like what is your gut telling you?
Like the devil's advocate.
It's different when someone else is asking it to you, I feel like, than like your own kind of internal
dialogue.
I feel like that's the case like when you're hearing any sort of advice or information, like sometimes like the people like your close network too, like, or your loved ones, your partner, like they might say something that you just like are like, yeah, whatever, and then like someone else like your mom or your best friend will like say the same thing to you and you're like, oh,
it has a totally different impact.
So like getting the outside opinions, not to be an opinion but to be more of like
another voice,
another input. So
I mean, I did a lot of, it was weird for me because like I have still to this day a really close knit group of friends, guys and girls from college that are all for the most part still living in New York, that I spent my 20s with, you know, partying and doing everything with. And that for me was, besides the familial aspect of like even thinking about having to like get on a plane to go back to see my family, like living somewhere that far away, like I'd never done that before, so like that was a huge factor. And then the friend piece was huge, right? Like it was just like I'd already clearly made the job decision, but the friend thing was also really big. And for a while I remember I didn't really share much with them because I'm also a person, I didn't really want it because I was like, I need to make this decision for myself, but I also was like, I wasn't sure like what was ultimately going to happen. And I feel like we do this thing where it's like you don't want to share information, like it's like you don't want to tell someone you're pregnant until
you have, like, retract
the first
it later.
trimester, right? Or like whatever it might be, until things are like more set in stone and like real. So I think I didn't want all my friends' inputs. To
which
be
is
totally
fair,
honest, because I knew what I was going to be met with. And I think knowing that was like also what stopped me.
So did you know, I know that you had met Allegra when you came in like October or something like that for a quick weekend before you'd like officially move, but did you know anybody in Austin when you like decided to make the move?
No.
Was that wild for you?
Yeah.
How did you like...
And she didn't even know, I mean, like, yeah, when she came down, like,
so I
we did
knew
not.
that 2 girls lived here that were friends with friends of mine.
Gotcha.
So I knew 2 people that were like friends of my friends.
That
You like knew
Colleen-
of 2 people.
Correct. Colleen and at that moment Chelsea.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you were like really big into like creating a community. Like you've had such a strong community. Like how did you recreate a community here? Or is that still something you're like doing? Yeah.
Yeah, the whole not knowing anyone was really daunting, but I don't think I realized how daunting it was until I got here. Like I was like, I can talk to people, all my friends. Like I think the big thing for me though, and looking back and kind of reflecting, was like knowing that I was joining a company that was based here and had a footprint here and had people here. Like that changed everything.
Yeah.
And I met
Like, you did
her
in
like
office,
the literal first week. Because I came in August.
Yes. And then we met in October.
Yes, when I officially moved. So I
Yeah,
came in
no.
like August.
For
To
Labor,
like
no,
come, it was
yeah,
Labor
it
Day
was
weekend.
Labor Day weekend. And
So I was like, I need to like.
You guys spent like
Figure
30,
out-
like 48 hours
We
together.
spent like 4 days together straight.
But this is funny because you had been in the office for like
A week.
a week, and I like did not talk to you at all.
Yeah.
Because
That sounds about
I'm
right.
so
Yeah.
adverse to change, and I see new people, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah,
We'll
she
see.
ignored me for 4 days.
That sounds like
now
Allegra.
that I'm 2 years in, I'm like, yeah.
And then you came over to my desk, and you're like, hi, I'm
I made the first move.
Honestly, I'm pretty sure that's how it
And
went
then
for
as
us
soon
too.
as you came to say hi, I was like,
You're like,
nice. I
You're
was
like-
nice. I
No,
was like,
yeah.
let's go. I was like, what are you doing
yeah,
this weekend?
I just had to make the first move. No, I came in August in the sweltering hot, which I was like,
Worst
I
possible
was
time
like,
to show up.
First thing I remember was like, oh god, it's hot. But I needed to like meet the team. I wanted to like figure out where I needed to like. I was like, I don't know where I should live.
Yeah.
And, like all this stuff. So I came for 2 weeks to like start work a little bit and figure out where I wanted to live, and then Miss Allegra. Once we got formally introduced and acquainted in the office, you totally took me under your wing, and I will forever be grateful for that. I know it was Labor Day weekend, and I think like I was
it
like
was the best.
I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like,
And I was like, we
I
have
was like, I don't
plans
have a
every
car.
single day.
I didn't like have anyone or anything, and
we
so
literally
she was
hung
like-
out like 4 days in a row.
I think Adam was out of town, and you
Yeah.
were just like, I got you.
yeah.
And
love
I was
that.
like, let's go, and we just
We
tore
did
up
all the
Austin.
things. We did so much.
It was so
we
fun.
did a crazy Austin weekend in those 4 days. My favorite. I mean, we went out drinking and dancing and lunches
Eating.
and brunches and
Full
all the
Austin.
things.
Oh,
And I just remember, I think by the last day, we were both like hungover, and we just went to Soho House and just sat.
we just like stared.
We just sat and were like on our phones, but like next to each other. And at that point,
That's
I
the
was
mark
like,
of a friendship.
at that point, I was like,
Okay.
we're best friends.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
pretty much that instantaneous.
I was like, I just need to be around you, and
Yeah. No, that weekend
Yeah.
definitely just like cemented things and so quickly, and I was like, okay. And I think
and we looked
that
at a few apartments. I feel
yeah,
like.
you helped me like go see apartments and kind of like figured out what neighborhood I should live in, which I still live in. So
Yeah.
you knew my
East
vibe from the
Austin.
start. But I went home then for like almost 2 months because I had to still like get my shit together and
Yeah.
like plan to actually move and everything. But I think I went home, and after having met her, I was like, okay.
I mean,
like,
we were
I'll be
texting every
like,
single
I'll be
day
okay.
then.
Like,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I think, like, even just making one connection kind of like that instantly. And I remember, too, like,
I was like,
Terry,
when you came
like,
back.
Terry picked me up from the airport. Like, there was this instant sense of, like,
Community.
Southern hospitality, like, that I had never truly, it sounds crazy, but I had never experienced it before. Like,
yeah.
I came from New York
People
City,
from the
like...
Northeast are just very
I came
different
from
energy.
like Manhattan, and like I was used to Manhattan. I was Manhattan. Like
Yeah.
everyone's just like doing their thing, their heads down, like headphones on. Like
Yeah.
Get out of my way. And here
Yeah.
it was just like instantly from the second I like hit the ground, like Terry was at the airport, like waiting for me. Like I'd never have anyone pick me up at the airport in New York. Like, right? Like those little things that I realized I was like, okay, there's just like a different sense of like living and like relationship and just like kindness. And it sounds crazy, but I felt that instantly. And I think that also put me at ease a little bit too with like, I don't know anyone here. Oh my God. I was like, well, people are so kind and like hospitable. And I felt so welcomed at Forefront. And, you know, I met Allegra and I looked around and I saw, you know, a bunch of people who were like my age, like clearly we have similar interests. We're at the same kind of company, doing the same kind of work. And I met Kat and like Ben was there at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be okay. Jessica, like people who are still my friends to this day. So
you also have to touch base though on the fact that you kind of scored the thing that people try to do with dating apps. Like, very quickly.
Oh. Yeah, that's a whole thing. Kind of forgot about that. That was also you. I have you to pretty much
I did. That weekend, I, like, cleaned up her dating profile.
And you updated it to Austin.
I did.
So one night we were out, and you were like, just like... So I was obviously super single. I've been single my whole time living in New York, and... That's actually probably another big driving factor. My big change was like I was ready to finally like put myself out there and date, and I was not really ready to do that in New York City.
Yeah.
I tried it.
It's like
and I was like,
it's too much. I feel like New York is like it's too much. Like you're either gonna like meet the people that are in your group already, or you're gonna
be set up and hope it works.
Yeah.
So you encouraged me to update like my Hinge profile to be in Austin, to kind of get a head start.
Yeah, because I was like, let's just do it, and then I helped like with
you were
pictures
like
and
with Adam. So I think you were also just like, let's see what's on here.
Yeah. Because I met Adam on Hinge. So.
Yeah, you were like, I have a good track record. So that happened too, and then I did ultimately, I think in that weekend maybe match with my current boyfriend.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I remember
wild to think about.
Because I remember when you moved, like down here, you were like, okay, I'm gonna like go out with this guy and meet this guy who I've been talking to now for like a month.
Yeah.
You know.
So we matched and then we talked even when I went home.
Yeah.
I think that kind of
it's so
helped.
interesting. I feel like that has happened to multiple of my friends where they're like, I know I'm moving to this place. I'm gonna set my location there, and they're like married now. Because they started talking before they even moved there.
I think that really like made a big difference. Like it kind of like we met in person and we kind of like already knew each other.
Yeah.
Which was kind of nice. So that whole thing happened. That was
crazy. You're like, I moved to a new city and everything shakes up.
Yeah, but I think you were saying like you kind of were ready for that. You were at a point in your life where like you had made space for all of those things.
100%. I think it was such a like, and again, didn't realize it all in the moment, but I think now that I'm 2+ years in, like to look back and realize that like, and I think the big kind of learning and lesson from it was like terrifying, massive risk, total challenge, totally uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But like pushed myself to do it, and like clearly like doing all of that then ended up resulting in all of these things that I was like hoping for.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
wild.
Really
it's like
wild.
That's like the testament.
That like is manifestation at like manifestation is like the buzzword right now.
And just doing the
it was
scary shit. Like even if you're terrified, if you're unhappy in your job, if you're unhappy in your relationship, like it's gonna be uncomfortable to like sever ties with those things.
Yeah.
But look, you could be making space for the next big chapter in your life.
Yeah.
And I think for me too, when I was in the process of getting ready to make all these big decisions, I knew and know myself so well that I knew if I didn't do it then, I would be kicking myself. Right?
Yeah.
Like I knew that there was such a moment in time and such a like space and opportunity for me to like capitalize on in a way and take advantage of. And that if I didn't do it, and 2 years now, and today I was like sitting in New York City and drinking till 4 a.m. every weekend, which was all fun and amazing while it was.
Yeah.
But like kind of surrounded by the same people and like maybe still at Viacom. Like I know myself and I'd be saying like I should have known what I said I was gonna do. Like
there's like no growth.
I knew that like kind of like subconsciously and deep down too. So I was like, I just need to do it.
I think about that all the time because I'm like, basically, I wasn't born here, but
you got here as fast as you can.
I have lived here I've lived in Austin since I was 4 years old. And outside of the 4 years I went to college in Nashville, I have been in Austin. And I think about that all the time of like, oh my God, am I going to live? Am I going to live and die in Austin? Like, which is not, there are worse places to be.
Yeah.
I'm like you, like my family is here.
Yeah.
And my career has been here.
Yep.
I think about it sometimes, so I'm like trying to.
Yeah, I think your story is like getting to Allie right now. I was like reevaluating her entire life on the pod.
I will say after London, I was like trying so hard to figure out.
I was trying to get you to London. I was like, let's look up.
It's the whole visa thing. The visa thing is terribly hard.
Portugal has a great digital nomad visa if you want to move to Portugal.
Oh.
We should have 2 friends that live there now, so who knows?
I would go.
Let's all go.
Let's all go. Honestly, I'd be
Let's all
fine with it. Property's also very cheap in Portugal. I've started looking.
I would love to live abroad again.
Same.
Yeah.
Like that is my goal
That's next.
in my life.
Yeah.
No. And I think about like how you had a list of places in the US. I'm like, my places in the US is like, no, nothing. Like, I don't know if I want to live anywhere outside of Austin, but...
I go through that struggle sometimes, too. Is like, where would I... If I were to leave Austin, where would I go in America? And I feel like... I mean, I think you had, like, your pros and cons for every place on your list, and you were, like, very clear about it. And I know what I want, and I just don't know that other cities...
I feel like Denver...
I don't want to live in Denver. It's too cold. Yeah, and I don't think it's a very diverse city.
No.
Like, Austin's not diverse, but I feel more comfortable in Austin than I did in
Denver. And I liked Nashville, but I also, like, think it's so similar to Austin. I'm like, well, why would I live in Nashville instead of just living in Austin?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is there anywhere else on your list?
I would love to live in New Orleans, but, like, my house would get washed away in a hurricane.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Like, it's a matter of
That's the
when,
wrong
not
manifestation.
if. Yeah, like, it's a thing that... And I think, like, in a couple of years... We would love to, like, maybe get, like, a small condo or something in New Orleans.
Abroad.
I would love to.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing with is the animals.
I know.
I would do it if it wasn't for my cats and my dog.
That was the big thing about London, too. I was like, if I get a job, there's a 2-week quarantine period. I was like, I actually think my dog's hearts would break and they would die in quarantine. No, I think be separated from me for 2 weeks.
Because even we talked about moving to, like, Hawaii is truly, like, I could not think of a better... physical manifestation of everything that I love is Hawaii, but like animals have to be quarantined when you move there, so like it's the same as moving abroad.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the flights are just as long.
Yeah. So. It is, yeah. So maybe when the geriatrics are gone.
Maybe. We're not wishing for their deaths anytime soon, but that was dark.
But maybe at some point when it happens, that could be the silver lining.
But like, yeah, no, I think that like that would give you like I feel like you've experienced so much in the past 2.5 years that you never would have had access to before.
Yeah. So here's the real Austin question: when are you getting a dog?
That is the Austin question.
So we've been getting asked that a lot.
I found this on the web.
Oh my God!
Oh, Siri wants to pop in. Siri, when are you getting a dog?
But I want to see what the question it answered. Oh, it's gone.
When are you getting a dog?
Yeah, right. That was a complete joke, but
so couple of things. So also boyfriend who I met on Hinge the first week I was here is also named Alex.
Yeah,
for those that don't know.
They're the Alexes. Al and AT is
it's a really funny thing that will always be part of our relationship.
Wild.
That was a big thing that I wasn't sure I could do, but here we are.
I have definitely gone out of my way to hook up with somebody named Taylor. So
you say it often.
No, I do. I bring it up all the time because I'm like that was the first person I hooked up with when I moved to Austin was somebody named Taylor, and I did that on purpose. Yeah. And we still follow each other on Instagram.
That's awesome. Oh my God.
I don't think I'm gonna meet anyone named Allegra or Allie.
No, I think you're good. I think you're
I
fine.
think you're good. You're good on Allegra. No, so I think a couple of things. We're still apartment living.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I want to have a dog when there's space for them. And
What kind of
us,
dog
and,
would
like,
you get?
I don't know. Probably some sort of like lab or something.
I can see you with the lab.
Yeah,
That makes sense
Like
for
a
you.
big-ish dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we don't know if we're gonna like buy a house in Austin or like are we staying in Austin forever? Are we going abroad? Like we've talked about a lot of things. So I think it's like
And how long have y'all been dating now?
This year will be a lot of that. I mean, I basically say that I've dated him since I moved here, so like 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you moved in together a year ago?
February of this past year.
So almost a year ago.
Yeah.
You want to be here next month?
Next month.
Yeah.
That's
Oh my
crazy.
God, it's January.
Wild. It's January. Surprise.
Are you gonna renew your lease?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good spot for y'all.
We're
I
very
prefer-
content there and just like,
It's a great location.
and we realize, I'm sure we all realize just how fast a year goes by.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
crazy.
and we weren't ready to like make a big decision by a month from now. So yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
even when you guys moved in together, it was like, are we ready for this? You're like, well, it's now or never. Might as well. Like,
Yeah, I think that's again just like finding the scary thing and moving towards it, not away from it.
Yeah. Totally.
Because like the worst thing that happens, you move apart.
Oh,
Like that's it.
I was like, might as well try.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
just leaning in.
Yeah.
So yeah, until we figure out all of that, probably. But maybe we'll get like a different type of animal or something. I don't
A
know.
fish.
Yeah.
Allie, now I have a question for you. What's the scariest decision you've made? Because this feels like a big scary decision that Alex made moving here. And you were commenting how you've like been comfortable in Austin. What's your scariest decision you've made?
Mine was probably in 2021 when I made the decision to move back in with my parents as a over 30-year-old.
Yeah, how old were you? You were 31? 30?
I was 30.
You were 30.
I had just turned 30.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the listeners are aware that, Adam and I started dating in 2020 is when we met. We met during the pandemic on Hinge. And we broke up in December of 2021. And then I was single and living, and I was like, I think I'm going to be ready to buy a house soon. So it was very agonizing, but the decision was until I find a place I want to purchase, I want to give up the lease and move back in with my parents. And it was a big struggle because I really felt like as a 30-year-old, I was like, I'm digressing. I'm going backwards. Like I'm moving in with my parents at 30 years old and I'm single. This isn't going to be good for like dating. This isn't going to be good for like social life.
Yeah.
But I knew ultimately, like, I was like, my goal is to save money, and I wouldn't take back the year that I had with my parents. I mean, we got to spend a lot of time. I was really nervous too because I was like, sometimes like me and my mom, we clash, and being under the same household, is it going to feel like when I was in high school? I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress just revolved around that. But I think most of it was around like that month before I did it. I had made the decision. I put in the notice. I was ending my lease. And then I was just racked with like, is this the right decision? I had my dogs. I had to put all my stuff into storage.
Yeah.
I was living basically out of like 2 suitcases. And I was also living like in Northwest Austin.
You were in Narnia.
It was so
You were literally in
hard,
Canada.
And I was just like, are my friends going to want to like still see me? I'm going to have a social life. Am I just going to like work and go home? And it was not, it was better than I expected. And I was able to save a lot of money during that time.
Yeah.
And I did still date while that was happening. It was definitely not conventional, but it was actually great because I feel like I stuck to my guns of like, I'm going to go and meet this person and I'm going home, you know?
Yeah.
There was no, like, I wasn't ready to tell my parents,
Yeah.
Staying.
Yeah. And then during that time, like, Adam and I reconnected, and there was a lot of changes that we both had made in our lives that led us to trying again. And now I'm in this amazing house and living with my partner and still saving money and building a great future. So
I love that. Yeah, I think that's another example of like doing the scary thing, and it worst case scenario you would have just gotten an apartment or a house or like whatever.
Yeah.
But like best case scenario is this.
And during that month, like I will say too, I have not bought a house. I am still renting currently, but I think it really paved the way for like what I want and not settling, because a lot of the houses that I looked at during that year, there were a couple. I made a bunch of offers, nothing stuck. But I also, looking back, I'm glad that none of them are the home that I'm in, because they all had things that I was like sacrificing on. And so I feel like I'm by doing the steps, I've now paved the way for like, I know what I want in a house. I know what I want like with my relationship, and it's just going to open more doors down the road for the right thing.
Yeah, no, I love that.
I think a big thing I remember, like, you kind of going through and kind of reminding you during that time, because I remember, like, I was like, I just, like, live with my parents, and, like, trying to, like, relate that to you a little bit, because I know, like, you're really close to your parents, and I am too, but it was still, like, a daunting, like, to just think about being under one roof, like, working and just, like, coexisting after, like, being on your own and, like, being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, like, I remember that, but I also think it was just, like, a great lesson for realizing, like, and I saw, like, so openly starting to accept that, like, things weren't going to work out in the exact time or way that you wanted them to, and, like, being so accepting of that.
Yeah.
Because, like, I remember, like, your house journey you were going, and, like, with your dad, and, like, there was always, something that wasn't quite right about each place you looked at, and, like, I remember so hard you were pushing for it, but then I think, like, I remember seeing a shift of just being, like, it's just not the right time, and it's okay that it's not the right time.
Yeah,
and then,
I don't
like,
have to put myself in this box of, like, I'm 30 years old, I need to have a house.
Yeah,
you know?
There's no timeline that exists that you are behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's, like, paving their own path and journey for them. I'm like...
And it was crazy, because at that time I was looking at, like, the girl group that I had around me, everything that you had just gone through. You and, your partner were working towards, you had bought a house, buying another house, or building another house. And then my other friend Alex was, like, having a baby, and it was just, like, all of these things. And then my other friend was going through a breakup. And so it was just one of those moments of, like, okay, like, we are all within, 5 years of each other, but going through such crazy differences in our lives, and it just goes to show that there is no, like, set timeline for when anything is supposed to happen.
Yeah,
it just happens, like, when it happens. You just gotta, like bend to the universe and let that
embrace it.
Yeah, I feel like that's my biggest lesson maybe of being in my 30s. Like, now I'm, like, solidly in my mid 30s. I'm 34, and, like, it's crazy that all of my friends, again, who are 30 to 36, are in such different phases. Like, some people are on their second husband.
Crazy.
Some people are, like, going through a divorce, like, the first divorce of that part of the friend group. Some people are, like, still single and, like, happy with that, and, like, just looking for their person whenever they show up. People are, like, experiencing infertility. It's just crazy how, like, it's... When you're in high school and college, you're all going through the same things at the exact same time.
Yep.
And then timelines just get so stretched the older you get. And I feel like that's something I'm still trying to, like, not figure out. That's not the right word, but, like,
you keep promise me, though, we're going to have babies at the same time.
Sure. Let's do it. Absolutely.
We need, like...
I'll need somebody to commiserate with. I feel like I'm going to be...
cool, fun aunt to support you both along the way.
I feel like I'd be a whiny
person. I'm going to laugh,
person.
like, if you have kids before us.
Oh, God.
We're not going to put that into the universe unless you want that in the universe.
Not anything.
That reminds me, though, when other Alex had her baby, And she and we have never gotten into a fight outside of like one time we got into a very heated debate about what was better to have first, a kid or a dog. I was very pro dog. Like,
I mean, as somebody who got a dog when you were in college.
Yeah, I'm like, a dog teaches you responsibility. A dog teaches you how to like take care of something and not kill it. A baby, you just like go from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Truly. 0 to 600.
And she was very much like, no, I'll get a dog once I have a kid.
Interesting.
And so I remember when she told me that she was pregnant, she's like, I have news. And I was like, oh my God, you're getting a dog. And she's like, no, I'm pregnant. And I was
Not
like,
quite.
oh.
Not
okay,
quite.
I'm still happy for you.
Right.
But I was so excited thinking that she was going to get
baby
a dog.
number 2.
Now she's had 2 babies. I'm like, where's the dog?
Crazy.
Where's the dog?
Where's the
You know
dog?
what? When you have 2 under 2, maybe wait until they're older before you try and throw a puppy in the mix. Yeah, I would wait on that.
Equation.
100%. That seems like way too much.
That sounds awful.
But if you had a dog first.
But also I've heard so many stories of people I know who were like, I hate my dogs now that I have a child. Like
Really?
like multiple people have like personally told me this.
Wow.
That they're like, I love, like my dog was my child before, and now that I have a real child, I'm annoyed by them. They're like always there. Like I'm not, they're a burden. And I'm like, that's my biggest,
really
if I ever have
sad.
a child, I'm terrified of, I love my animals.
Yeah.
That's
sad.
so fucked up.
No, multiple people have told me that.
That is so fucked up.
I like believe it, but
I would put
still not.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
so
dogs
that's
are
the
my
thing.
children.
They are until you have a child.
They're
Apparently.
so-
And
then I looked it up on
sleep
Reddit,
like
it's a
1
very-
hour a night, and
Yeah.
you're like dying.
Yeah. I looked it up. It's like very much
You're
a
like,
common
that's,
thing.
That's something I can't even fathom taking care of as well.
No.
Yeah.
I'm like very
kinda
care of
believe
myself
it.
sometimes. Well, thank you so much, Alex.
Thank
for
you
coming
guys.
on.
Oh my god, it was fun to like reflect a little bit and
Yes.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey.
Yeah. And I appreciate you both. I mean, you are totally part of my community, obviously, Allegra, and I like
No.
from day one and work and social life and personal life and everything, but happy to have you too in Austin and part of that.
Well,
Yes,
happy to have
no,
you in
we're
the Everyday Bubbly crew.
We are.
Yeah, thank you. I feel so honored.
Let's
Really
cheers. I
fun
feel like
to
that's
do
a
that.
perfect cheers moment, honestly.
Cheers.
Should we move on to songs of the week before we wrap things
Songs of
up?
the week.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, am I
Who wants to go
starting?
first? You go first. We'll go this direction.
Opposite direction now? Okay.
Yeah.
I was really torn, but I'll save my other song for next week. But I have Body Parts, the full frontal version by Blood Nymph, which is a very aggressive name. I know, I'm sorry. It's very aggressive. Blood, B-L-U-D.
Full frontage.
Full frontal. Full frontal.
Okay.
It's very aggressive.
What's the non-full frontal version?
I think it's just like an extended remix.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the full frontal is just like extended.
It's less.
Sounds
It's
intense.
more PG.
Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, that's
Like
my.
Blood Nymph.
I always feel
I can't wait to listen to
aggressive
this
when I
afterwards.
see, like, I like several of her songs, and they're like pretty like, they're like pop, like dark pop, I guess you would consider it, but it's like
Is
still
it like
pop.
Grimes?
I don't think I've ever listened to Grimes.
Okay, we'll have to listen to Grimes.
Yeah.
'cause
Well,
Yeah, I haven't
I'll
I think
play this-
Grimes is dark pop. She's like dark alien pop.
No, there's no alien part
Well,
here.
No aliens.
No aliens. But that's my song of the week. It's just like a upbeat song. You guys will hear it. It sounds very aggressive. I've listened to a lot of Blood Nymph. And I always feel dumb saying her name in my head, but like I like all of her music.
Okay.
It doesn't
I'll have a listen.
Yeah.
maybe focus on the nymph
We'll put it on-
part and not the
we'll put it on
blood part.
the
I
playlist.
don't know. I don't fucking know. Allie, what's your song of the week?
Okay, so there's an artist that I actually rediscovered at one of the events that our company puts on called Live in the Vineyard. His name is Alec Benjamin. He performed. I remember we were sitting next to each other at the Uptown Theater listening to him.
Yeah.
But I love all of his music. He has such a unique voice, and he also has like such a little baby face, and I just think he's precious. But he has a new song called "I Sent My Therapist to Therapy."
Oh my god, I've been listening to this song.
It's so good.
That's been on my
It's a
Discover
great
Weekly
name for
like,
a song.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I like that
I'm listening
song.
to it on repeat, but he's got a bunch of good ones. But that one is the newest release, and I'm like, okay, it's been in my rotation.
Yeah, I like
so.
that song. That's a good one. All right, Alan, what's yours?
Okay, so I struggled for a couple of reasons with this, but one being it's just hard for me to always pick like one.
Yeah.
And also I feel like I notoriously like don't really listen to like the current music that's like on the radio or whatever. Yeah. So I've been listening to this album called Happy Music by Super Shy.
Ooh.
And it's like dancey and like kind of like progressive-y, like house music, but like chill.
Ooh.
It's kind of like, don't really know how to explain it. I don't know if I have the right genre. But the album is called Happy Music, and the song Happy Music is the first song on the album. And you both should have a listen today. It's just like a happy, good feeling, vibey, fun song.
I love that.
I
think the album came out like late last year.
Yeah, we'll have to do a listen.
What's the artist again?
Super Shy.
Super Shy.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll add that to the playlist as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think on that note, we can wrap things up. Thank you again, Alex.
Thank you guys. This was really fun.
We had a great time, and for all of our listeners / watchers, like, subscribe, do all the things, rate and review. Find us on Instagram
at everydaybubblypod.
Listen to the playlist. Do all the things. And also, what's the scariest thing that you've ever done? I would love to hear from y'all. Like, we'll put a box up on Instagram, and we would love to just hear what's the scariest thing you've ever done if you've ever moved to a new city without knowing anybody, moving back in with your parents. Change your careers. Like, completely change everything. Move across the country.
Go back to school. Like, that seems scary.
Yeah.
I would love to hear from y'all and hear what some scary things you've done and, like, how it worked out for you guys. All right, well, talk to you guys next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Clink.
Clink. Clinkies.
Like my